down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid-lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings broadcast, and I am your not constitutionally mandated host, Rick. And I say not because, of course, there's a very few things that are mandated in the Constitution. Why am I talking about the Constitution? Well, yesterday, September 17th, was a little-known holiday known as Constitution Day. 234 years ago, our form of government was formed by the signing of the Constitution on September 17th. So, I, being a red-blooded American, am jazzed up by the Constitution Day because the Constitution is the greatest foundation ever known to man in the formation of a government for the first time ever in our world history, where a government was formed for the people, by the people, and of the people. This form of government that we have, which is a constitutional republic, is so revolutionary at the time that it was written that nobody else had ever seen it. All we had ever had was monarchies, dictatorships, tyrannical governments throughout our history until our founding fathers here in the U.S. put together what a lot of people call the Great American Experiment, which is a government built around the people and the people governing themselves. Now, one thing that has happened quite a bit here recently is I've heard conversations, I've talked to some people, and it seems like and looking on social media too, it seems like our Constitution is no longer taught in the sense that it's taught to where people actually respect this magnificent document, this coming together of both brilliance and, some might say, divine intervention to create the greatest country that this world has ever seen in the last 200 and so many years. 200 plus, 237, 234, whatever it was. The point is that we are the greatest nation. We're the first ones to govern by the people, to have the people decide their direction and their rule. And this calls for a complete celebration. But before I get into this celebration, before I start talking about the Constitution, I want to honor my opportunity here by showing or presenting again to you, thankful to the National Concealed Carry Association for making me a brand ambassador. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way as soon as I can find it on my board over here. Here we go. So there we go. All right. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on here? Why is that not popping up? Oh, that's wrong. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. If you honor and value our God-given right to self-defense by owning a firearm and would appreciate joining a community of like-minded individuals who welcome firearm owners of all experience levels, then you should consider joining the NCCA. The National Concealed Carry Association exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of Second Amendment advocates, offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors, and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. NCCA members enjoy shopping thousands of products with zero dealer markup, unlimited free shipping, and keep more money in their pockets with zero 0 credit card processing fees. The NCCA encourages safe, responsible concealed carry and celebrates those who are brave enough to protect not only themselves, but their families and their communities. If this sounds good to you, visit nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com to join today. As a special bonus, use my affiliate link, ncca.refr.cc/Rick02 to receive a code for 10% off any purchase at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. Once again, use my affiliate link, ncca.refr.cc/Rick02 and receive a code for 10% off your purchase at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. Visit nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com, that's all one word, all spelled out, all lowercase, to find out more today. And thank you very much to the NCCA for allowing me to be a brand ambassador. Okay, so one of the things that I think is happening today has to deal with the fact that we have a lot of educational challenges. And by that, I mean that our education of today is not the same education as what we have gotten from yesteryear. And there's a lot of things that we could criticize about the current situation of our educational system. Believe me, there's a lot to go over there. But one thing that I think that is really completely missing has to deal with the conversation regarding the Constitution and U.S. history. It seems like there's a lot of people who really don't understand in today's world how our government actually works. And that's prevalent everywhere, within social media, within discussions that I've had. It's just amazing to me, and understand I am not necessarily a long-term constitutionalist. I came into this realm after I realized that our country is getting lost within the morass of stuff that's going on with the changing of the Constitution and understanding constitutional amendments and laws and executive orders and everything else. So I wanted to provide on this celebration of Constitution Day some places of reference that my listeners and viewers can go and check out the Constitution. And I've put a bunch of them in the links below. We're going to be walking through them. But one of the things that I have found, which quite interesting, back when I was a kid, when we would come home from school, obviously one of the first things that we would do, or that I would do in particular, is I would walk in and turn on the TV because I had to decompress from school. Big word, decompress. But that wasn't, that kind of was what it was. But realistically, it was like, okay, I got to have some goof off time first. Okay. So we would go and turn on TV. And one of the things that would come on TV was that TV was actually used as more of an educational means as well as entertainment. And so these ads, these little 3-minute ads would run on television, and it was put out by a group called Schoolhouse Rock. And it was run on, I think it was CBS or maybe NBC. I don't know, whichever one is the one that uses the tagline, "The more you know." I think it was the one that really aired these special little programs, but they were public access. And one of the ones, which I'm going to show you here in just a second, covered the Constitution. And what they would do is, as an educational method, they would put together the sights, the sounds, have catchy tunes with them, and so on and so forth. An example of which was talking about English. In the episode was called Conjunction Junction, and it talked about putting ands and ors and all this stuff together. Well, they also did things on U.S. history. And the one that I'm going to play for you here in just a second has to deal with the Constitution. So without further ado, let me go ahead and slide over to that. I got to find. So here we go. And I am going to go ahead and play this. For some reason, it's not. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. and just take, it's 3 minutes long, but, and I apologize for the quality because we are talking about the 80s here. I mean, animation was not that great back then. So take a listen.
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution? Hey, learn about the USA. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out, a whole brand new country, and so our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. And they put those principles down on paper and called it the Constitution, and it's been helping us run our country ever since then. The first part of the Constitution is called the Preamble and tells what those founding fathers set out to do. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers all sat down and wrote a list of principles that's known the world around. The USA was just starting out, a whole brand new country, and so our people spelled it out. They wanted a land of liberty, and the preamble goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, for the United States of America.
All right. So, for those of you who are listening on the audio program, of course, that was obviously very old music. But there are some imagery. There's some imagery that goes along with that. People going in to vote, people exercising, their right to vote, and some other things. Some of the like the common defense has the army going through. Do me a favor, check it out on Rumble or YouTube afterward. If you are listening on the audio portion, you can check out both those locations, both my channels, and be able to watch the actual video. So the whole point in a nutshell on this is, back in those days, we used to have things like that come up after school. And so we would be watching TV and you would see those things come up, and they were public service announcements. And you can look them up on YouTube. The Schoolhouse Rock they've got like several different ones regarding government and history and English and so on and so forth. When you saw it, after you saw them about 50,000 times when you were a kid, you were like, oh God, please, not this thing again. But as an adult, I can look back and appreciate the educational value that you get with having something like that being repeated in your head over and over and over again. Now, how many people, honestly, of my age who might be watching and listening, how many people got to the preamble of the Constitution and actually sang it along with the song, with the tune? I personally, I don't do that anymore, but that was how I learned it. And that was a method of teaching that was just amazing for people because of the fact that you had music, you had, eye-catching imagery, and you had the lyrics of the song. And even though it was a little old schoolish, kind of like, Lawrence Welkish kind of idea, it actually was one of those things that you could enhance your memory of the preamble to the Constitution. And it's sort of like singing your ABCs. It's a common tactic of people who want you to memorize something, is to make some sort of mnemonic about it. And that's either like a catchy phrase or a song, put it to music, something along those lines that will help you remember what this thing was. And, so it's stuff like that I think that we're missing. And then, the other thing is that you have, oftentimes, so let's say for an example, if I'm trying to learn something, it always helps to have some sort of a study guide that's put together to help you understand it. And I happen to have a study guide right over here that I picked up recently. And it's basically, it's called How to Read the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence by Paul B. Skousen, Skousen. Now, you can find this on Amazon, and this basically kind of breaks down within the book. It tells you a little bit of how things got put together in our history, and it teaches you how to read the Constitution, maybe not necessarily the language, because I know a lot of people get uptight with the whole language idea. I mean, it's sort of like reading Shakespeare. It's very difficult to get through due to the language, but it gives you an idea in terms of tying things together and helping you out to understand the Constitution and what it stands for. The other thing that you can do is you can get other books. Study guides are incredibly helpful. You can get things like this book here, which is Know the Bill of Rights, Know Your Bill of Rights book. And this particular book I picked up also by Sean Patrick. I got to show that up on the screen. And this particular book talks about the Bill of Rights and goes through, all of the different keywords and phrases within the amendments, and kind of explains each one of our rights as outlined in the Constitution. Another one that I found fascinating, and which is this one here. This particular one actually goes through some of the myths that we have that are floating around. Is called The 25 Myths of the United States Constitution by Douglas V. Gibbs. And he was he's a radio host, public speaker, activist, etc. And you can buy this one on Amazon as well. But it goes through, and I've brought this up on the program before, it goes through several myths that are running around about the Constitution and what it actually means. And he breaks it down in a very, very quick format in terms of, the answer as to what's going on. To give you an idea, I mean, he talks about federal supremacy, talks about the co-equal branches, Supreme Court. He does have a section on Roe versus Wade, the Commerce Clause, general welfare, constitutional rights, what democracy is, et cetera, et cetera. And there's 25 total myths in the book. And I actually refer to it sometimes when I need to understand if there's a myth or whatever that's there. Now, as an adult, you also could go and look up, if you're interested to try and learn the Constitution a little bit more, you can go up, and I'm sorry, my earpiece here is kind of messing me up. You can go and find things online to help you out. And one of the things I've actually put in a link below, this is really becoming a bit of a problem here. Excuse me for just a second while I try to fix this. Anyway, and I've put this in the link below, and this is called the Institute of the Constitution. Sorry. And let me go ahead and bring this up. Okay. So the Institute of the Constitution is a an actual, it's a website. It's on the AmericanView.com. And what they have is they have a free U.S. Constitution course, which is 12 lessons about the U.S. Constitution. It comes with PDF as well as a video that you can watch on YouTube. If you're tech savvy, you also might be able to download it and look at it at your leisure. But the U.S. Constitution course, it's free. It's absolutely free. I've put the link in the description. And this is just, it's an amazing way for an adult to actually go through and start learning about the Constitution again, learning about what's going on with the Constitution, how the Constitution works, et cetera, et cetera. Other ways that you can do this as an adult and start looking around is a college. This is Hillsdale College. This is an actual college back east, and they promote American values and that type of thing. They have online courses. They have a bunch of different things that you can go and take a look at. You can actually take online courses. If you have a child, they can actually go to this school. It is a educational university. It's a university, and they have classes and things like that. You can check them out. But the thing that I'm most impressed with is their periodical newsletter that they put out called In Primus. And so this is the periodical newsletter. It comes out once a month. It's free. And they have a lot of conservative type people on. They also have other alternating points of view at times. And they do a really pretty much a really good job with that. You can get it either digitally or in print. I happen to get it in print. And there's lots of good information from that. There's excerpts from speeches and things of that nature. Hillsdale College, they do ask for donations. I will tell you that right up front. They will, reach out for donations and things of that nature. But it's a good way to kind of get yourself into things about the Constitution and about America and how things work. And I would recommend the Institute on the Constitution. I would recommend them toward anybody, especially that free course that they send that stuff to you. They send you the links for the videos, and they send you the PDFs for the lessons, everything all right to your inbox when you go and go to register. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So you just go and enter your full name and the best email address, and you can get instant access. Also, if you wanted to purchase it in a DVD format, they do have it. They also have a bunch of other books. I mean, this is a incredible location for all things American when it comes to stuff like that. Okay. So let me go back. So the other thing you can do if you want to learn about the Constitution is, why not just go right to the documents themselves? And I've shown this on the program before. This is a little pocket Constitution, Declaration of Independence. You can buy these. This is like $5. And if I remember right, it comes from the Cato Institute, CATO. You can look this up and pop this up online, but it has the amendments, the Declaration of Independence, and all of the amendments to the Constitution up to date. The other thing you can do, of course, is go to the Founding Fathers themselves and talk about the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. These are just books that I have. I did find out this one, the Federalist Papers, even though I've had it out before, and I've talked about it before, it is missing some of the actual Federalist Papers. And for those that don't know, the Federalist Papers are articles, a series of articles written by mostly James Madison, but some of the other founding fathers got involved. And they essentially wrote articles within the newspaper called the Federalist, and that's why they're called the Federalist Papers, encouraging and talking about the Constitution as it was being written, as it was being revised, what each individual, parts and pieces and debates and that kind of stuff that came across. They did a lot of work trying to educate the public, at least insofar as the Federalist went, so that they would understand, so the viewing public would understand the kind of Constitution and the kind of government that they were trying to formulate. I have different, obviously different forms of the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation, which was previous to the Constitution itself, and the Declaration of Independence. I have different formats of that book. And then, of course, there's also the commission that was put together by Donald Trump, the 1776 Project. And I have this as the 1776 report. I haven't really gotten into this yet. It's on my list of things to do. But I can tell you, there's all kinds of things out there if you are really trying to understand the Constitution and get back involved as a part of an American and understanding it. I highly encourage it. And part of the reason why is because, and I forgot to do this before I started. I listened to a radio program. It's called the host's name is called Mark K. So shout out to all the Patriots that watch this video that have picked up my channel and are watching this either now or will be watching the recorded version at a later date on Rumble, hopefully tomorrow. But the Mark K show, he's actually a gentleman who emigrated here from Canada. And the thing that's amazing about him is his constitutional knowledge. And one day I was listening to him, this was a while back, and I was listening to him and I was like, you know what? I really applaud an immigrant who comes here from another country who has a real in-depth knowledge of our Constitution. And one of the things that I did find out is that, in order for someone to become a citizen of this country, they have to take what's called the citizenship test. And this test covers a lot of the things that we in America, born here, are taught or used to be taught in school. But I don't think that's happening anymore. And even if it is, I think a lot of people are looking at this and going, you know what? Wow, I don't even remember half the stuff that I learned in school about America. So another thing that you might want to do is there are practice tests online. If you go to the government's webpage, you can just look up citizenship test, and there are practice tests that are available online. There's also a guide to help you that's a PDF version that can help you study for the citizenship test. I don't know about you, but it's pretty sad to think that somebody else from across the world comes to this country and knows more about it than somebody who was born here. And if you really want to know, there's people out there like Ami Horowitz does it. And then there's a gal, Caitlin, I can't think of her last name, but she goes out and sometimes they do videos where they ask young college people questions about the Constitution and our form of government and how things work. And I know that they doctor the videos to show you just the worst of the worst, or, maybe they coach these people to basically act dumb. That's possible. I don't know. I don't know if they're real. I would assume that a lot of them are. I'm just going to take them at their word that they just randomly grabbed somebody off the street and asked the questions. But if you sit there and ask somebody questions, not only about American history, but about our system of government, but about the Constitution, pretty much everybody can name at least freedom of speech in Article 1, or not Article 1, but Amendment number 1 in our Bill of Rights. Okay. They can generally talk about the Second Amendment being about gun ownership and gun rights. But if you ask almost anybody, what's the Third Amendment to the Constitution? What about the Fourth Amendment. A lot of people understand the Fifth Amendment, or at least have a vague idea of what it covers, because you hear about it on TV shows, and especially law and crime people, not specifically law and crime, but law and crime people, people who watch crime dramas, people who watch shows. There's the Fifth Amendment, which prevents you from testifying against yourself. Okay. A lot of people understand those, first, second, fifth. They got those. But what about all the others? I mean, there's 28 of these things. Shoot, even I can't tell you, and I'm supposed to be a constitutionalist. I mean, come on, seriously? I think there's 28 amendments to the Constitution. And I know that, like, the 13th Amendment, for an example, was the one that freed slaves. Okay? But as far as some of these others that are out there, they're relatively unknown, but they're very important. And you can go and get this information online, but, honestly, with the way that things are being canceled and taken off, it might behoove you to learn some of those things, like about the amendment that keeps soldiers from being quartered in houses, being forced to be quartered in houses. What about the 10th Amendment that talks about anything that's not included in the Constitution is a power that is reserved to the states and to the people, respectively. Okay. So these are important pieces to our history. And we as Americans, even some Americans like myself, who are a little more educated than most, we still have trouble with some of these. But yet somebody who is from another country who comes here to this country, they have to take a test in order to be a citizen. And a part of that test happens to be about the Constitution and our system of government. I was looking at a Twitter communication. I guess they're called tweets or whatever. Anyway, it was a conversation between a couple different people. And one of them said that there is no representation. And what they were referring to was that the House of Representatives, because they were talking about, they lived in California, and they were talking about how California has no representation in the House of Representatives. And a lot of people who were a lot more knowledgeable about the subject jumped on this person and basically told them, hey, you have representation. In fact, you have more representation than just about any other state in the union because of your population. Now, a lot of people look and they think of Congress as, made up of a couple bodies of representatives. Well, we have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate. Now, some people falsely believe that because you get 2 senators, every state gets 2 senators, that's not representation. And that's not the way the founding fathers put it together at all. In fact, they broke it up specifically in those 2 houses. And originally, the senators were not somebody that was voted on by the people. It was actually the state legislature that appointed the 2 senators in the past. Now, that's been changed. Now we vote for them. But originally, the state legislatures were designed to appoint those 2 senators to go to Congress. And that the House of Representatives are made up of 435 positions. Those 435 positions get elected by the people. That's why it's called the House of Representatives. It's representative of the people. And the number of representatives that are sent from any given state is based off of population. This is part of the reason why we have a census. And the census just recently, in fact, I mentioned it in one of my shows, one of my past shows, that the census changed and had some redistricting going on where Texas picked up 2 more representatives and California lost 1 and Oregon gained 1 or 2 or something like, I think they gained 1, and several different states based on population either gained or lost representatives in the House of Representatives because it's based off of population. And the House of Representatives is called the People's House because of the fact that those are where everyone who normally would vote for a representative, that's where they go, is the House of Representatives. And again, like I said, the original idea was the senators were going to be drawn out of the state legislature. They aren't anymore, but that's what they used to be. And so, understanding our Constitution, I think, is a part of being an American, and understanding the rights that we do have, to be able to understand our system of government, to be able to understand things like the Electoral College and how it functions, and how do we elect people, and what kinds of powers does our federal system of government actually have? Because believe it or not, they don't really have as much power, even though it hasn't been constrained. They don't have as much power as what they think they do. And understanding our Constitution and how it's written and how it functions is key to whether people or not really can provide those checks and balances and bring suits in the form of lawsuits up to the Supreme Court. And we've got to understand how that Supreme Court works as well. Now, I've been talking a lot about adults going and learning all of this stuff, but did you know that there's a particular location for some kids' books to understand U.S. history? Let me show you that. This particular thing was made by the late Rush Limbaugh and his wife, to help kids in particular, understand our history. And he created this character called Rush Revere. And basically what happens is this character goes back in time and revisits the locations throughout history that are historically important to our founding. And this site is, it's rushrevere.com. The link is in the description. It's a great location for people to go to start getting a whole bunch of information about it. And the books in particular, they have a bunch of free options or free things on the website. But the books in particular are called the Adventure Series. And these books are written for kids to learn and understand our history. You can buy them at Barnes & Noble. You can get them on iBooks. You can get them on Amazon, Books A Million. I plan on getting them for my grandkids. But if you're a parent or a grandparent who watches this video and wants to have our kids learn in a fun and exciting way of our history, this might be a way for you to do that. You can, this particular one, this is the first one that they're describing here. It goes through about American history and makes it fun. It begins aboard the Mayflower, and the Mayflower coming across, the Pilgrims coming across, and how they got themselves together. Rush Revere is accompanied by his horse known as Liberty. And there's a lot of things, within this book, and I'm planning on getting this series. This is just book one. Amazon, I think, has 3 or 4 of them. I'm not exactly sure how many are in the series. But there's book 2. There's book 3. Looks like this is book 4. And we're almost to the bottom. And here's book 5. And, these books can be helpful in teaching your children about American history in a fun and easy to learn way. And Rush Limbaugh put it together. He did it because he was a patriotic American. Whatever you felt about Rush and some of his viewpoints, at least you can accept something or potentially look at something as a possibility for teaching our younger generation about American history, and not the one that they're attempting to teach that is a made up theory built ideals. Let's not go there with that one. Let's teach, real American history. And yes, I understand American history. We've got ugly spots, and there's absolutely no reason why we cannot talk about those ugly spots, why we cannot teach about those ugly spots. But at the same time, we also should recognize that the founding fathers and the Constitution and the way it was written, the way it's implemented, the phrasing that's used, set this country up to be the first country to eliminate and abolish slavery, to allow women the right to vote, to allow other non-landowners and other races to vote in our country, to provide for the foundation, to provide the foundation, the very foundation that allows us to have our freedoms and the freedoms that we do enjoy here in this country. We have to at least recognize the fact that the founding fathers built the foundation on the U.S. Constitution and how it functions, which again, as I said in the beginning of the program, is the de facto first time that anyone has built a government that is designed around allowing the people to govern themselves. And that's important. And that, I can't stress that enough. This might be an experiment. And maybe if you look at today's current climate and how everything is going, maybe there's a possibility that it could be ending. But I can tell you this much, that it's a grand experiment. Its ideals were incredible at the time. I can also tell you, I've got several other books over here that kind of help. And one, as soon as I grab it here, one in particular I just picked up. I was watching a show. It's a Dan Bongino show on Fox Nation. And he, as a part of, if you subscribe to the Fox Nation account, you actually get, ads, but they're not ads because obviously, Dan Bongino's show is a nationally syndicated show. And so each radio station has its own blotted timeouts. If you don't understand some of the background, what you do as a provider of the content is you put in, breaks, but in those breaks, you fill it with just like generic PSAs or whatever, so that the radio broadcast knows that they can put in their own ads over the top, so that they can put in, specific advertisements for their market over the top. And one of the things that I was watching, because it is a Fox affiliated show and it's not associated to any particular station in any particular city, what they did is they put a bunch of PSAs in there. And one of the PSAs that they talk about happens to deal with American date on this date in American history, so on and so forth. And all the videos that they have are produced by and taken from this book called The American Patriot's Almanac. And I actually went and found this on Amazon and am now using it to pick up different things on American history. So for an example, as you can see in the book, it'll go and start like here on this page. You can see it starts off with the month of August, and then it'll go through and tell you facts and things about the month, etc. And it'll give you on particular dates, like for example, like August 3rd, you can see right up here, if you're watching on YouTube, and eventually on Rumble, you can see on August 3rd, it gives you something and it tells you a little bit about something on that day in American history. In this particular case, it was just to give you an idea. This is August 3rd. And in this particular case, it pops out August 3rd, 1857, in a speech at Canandaigua. Wow, I butchered that. New York, abolitionist Frederick Douglass reminded his fellow Americans of the cost of freedoms. His words, which foreshadowed the coming Civil War, are among the most famous of his many orations. And it goes through and it gives his words, and it goes through and talks about different dates. So that one, it highlighted August 3rd, 1857. But down here, like for an example, on August 3rd, 1846, Abraham Lincoln was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. So this book is a compilation of a whole bunch of different things. And again, it's called the American Patriots Almanac, and it just gives you a whole bunch of different things. This one here is a revised, updated, and expanded from the original version, but it gives you all sorts of dates in history. And me now becoming a history buff, and it talks about, this is William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, C-R-I-B-B, who put it together. But you can find this book on Amazon, and this is an incredible book. Talks about, again, it's an almanac, so it goes through by date. You can find out, hey, on this date in history, what the heck happened? What was so special about it? And it'll find it. The other books that I have here, I have this one, which is called Documents of the Revolution, and it kind of covers Common Sense, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, Articles of Confederation, U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. Now, this book here, unlike the other book that I showed you on the Federalist Papers, this one actually has all of the Federalist Papers written down. This is got small print, but it is an incredible book. So if you're thinking of learning more about the Constitution and that kind of stuff, it's out there. You just got to be able to find it. You've got to want to find it. And we all should. We all should want to find. But regardless, I highly recommend those the video series by the institution of the Constitution, or the Institution for the Constitution. Say that 15 times fast. Yes, the Institution on the Constitution. Go through that and look at Hillsdale College. But we should be celebrating days like today, or days like yesterday, the Constitution Day. We should be celebrating July 4th, not for its date of July 4th, but for what it actually is, which is our Independence Day. We need to start recognizing these holidays. We need to start recognizing them for what they are, not for what they've been turned into. No different than Christmas or Hanukkah or any of those. Instead of saying happy holidays, we need to recognize that there is Christmas, that there is Hanukkah, there is Rosh Hashanah, there is, Thanksgiving. We've got to start recognizing these dates, or otherwise they'll just fade away in history. And that, my friends, is my final Whiskey Musings thought for the evening. Do me a favor, if you like the show, if you like the content that I'm providing, and you happen to be on either YouTube or Rumble, or even with Spreaker and all of the podcast outlets, do me a favor, subscribe, sign up, hit the bell, get notified for when I go live. And also do me a favor, if you like the program and you'd like to help support it, I do only have at this point one singular place where you can help me with financial contributions. I want to give you something in return. So do me a favor and visit store.whiskeymusings.online. Once again, that's store.whiskeymusings.online. And you'll find great t-shirts, sweatshirts, gaiters, masks, phone cases, yoga pants for the ladies, tank tops. I got all kinds of stuff out there with the Whiskey Musings logo already on it. And also my favorite saying, which is, when I drink, I think. So do me a favor, go and buy yourself something. And a small portion of those proceeds goes to the program and things like supporting the telephone number that I use at times for call-in, for people to call in and talk to me. Didn't do it tonight, but that's just par for the course. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. Once again, do me a favor, click subscribe, follow me on Gab, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll see you all next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody.